Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We'll work 5 days this week. How about that? It's been a little bit. We'll get back into the swing of things here full time in this week, and things are certainly in full swing over there at LSU and across the college football world. We will talk transfer portal a ton over the next couple of hours. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spitali back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to get to. We're going to talk about Sam Leavitt here. I want to get to that in a second. But as kind of an entree to that, we're going to talk about his injury coming up at the end of this hour. It was a Liz Frank injury. He had surgery around Halloween. So we'll talk with Dr. Jeffrey Hogan from Oxner about the general recovery from that injury at 1:45. Denton Day going to be with us at 2:30 talking college football playoff. Got to talk about the Saints as they finish with a loss, but was it kind of a win on Sunday? We'll talk about that a little bit. LSU basketball loses on Saturday as well. So lots and lots to do. Let's crank it up the way we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So let's talk about quarterback at LSU, because right now they literally don't have one. Michael Van Buren just went into the transfer portal. Colin Hurley's already gone into the transfer portal. Garrett Nussmeier's accepted an invite to a bowl game. He's out of eligibility. You have no quarterbacks. None, zero, nada. None. So you got to go get quarterbacks. And I think for the LSU staff, Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss Jr., the first choice is Trinidad Chambliss. Makes sense. Trinidad Chambliss is the talk of the college football world right now. And he already knows Lane Kiffin's system, and he already knows Charlie Weiss's system, and that would be the first guy. But he's having right now to convince the NCAA that having his tonsils taken out cost him a season at Ferris State. That's what we're getting into. Medical records have been sent out, and they're trying to go through that process to get that waiver applied. Get him another year. And oh, by the way, he agreed to terms with Ole Miss in the wee hours of this morning. So that's not an option. Trinidad Chambliss not coming here. He may be going to the NFL, maybe going back to Ole Miss. He's not coming to LSU. And I think the next guy that they really, really wanted to look into was Brendan Sorsby. He had really good season this past year at Cincinnati. Good athlete, good arm, very productive, older player. But Texas Tech made him a priority. They offered him over $5 million, and his girlfriend goes to school there. So you were swimming upstream with that one. They got him to campus, brought him in for a visit. He's going to Texas Tech. They've already got a billboard up in Times Square welcoming him to Lubbock. A little bit of difference between Times Square and Lubbock, but good touch. So it's on to the next one for LSU. And the next one for LSU is Sam Leavitt. The reporting over at On3 suggests that Sam Leavitt's beginning his visit to LSU right now, which was 1 o'clock on Monday. So they'll take him in, they'll roll out the red carpet, they'll make their case to Sam Leavitt. And there are layers to this, and there are different factors to this, but this is very important for LSU. It's important for LSU to get Sam Leavitt to Baton Rouge. There are other options, and they will field other quarterbacks, but I think Leavitt is the best option left on the board. You're talking about a player that led his team to the playoff a year ago. This season that we just finished, he was banged up. But you look at his career statistics at Arizona State, he's a 61% completion guy. He has thrown 34 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. He is a good athlete with a big arm, with big game experience and a lot of starting experience in the power conferences. He's got every tool that Lane Kiffin needs from his quarterback. He's not 6'6". He doesn't have the strongest arm in the country. He doesn't run a 4.35, but he's a good athlete with a good enough arm and a lot of experience and a lot of production. And he's played very well when given the opportunity. The other piece of this puzzle is the injury. which he suffered in October and had surgery somewhere around Halloween. I couldn't find a definite date for that, but somewhere late October, early November, he had the surgery. He's not going to be available in all likelihood for spring football. So you would have a quarterback coming in to be your starter that can't work on the offense in the spring. That's not ideal, but he's played a lot. He's talented, and I trust Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss to put quarterbacks in positions to succeed. So this is a guy, I think, that has to be a priority, has to be the priority, because you start to look through the rest of the options here. Byron Brown has not officially committed to Auburn, but he's leaving South Florida. He's likely to head to Auburn. Dylan Raiola, not a name that's been connected to LSU all that much. DJ Lagway hasn't really either, and that's not one that I'm super enamored with, to be candid. Deuce Knight could become an option. He played well down the stretch when given an opportunity for Auburn. He was a 5-star in last year's class. Then you start to get to like Austin Simmons, who Missouri's very high on. You've got Michigan State transfer Aiden Childs. You got Bo Prabula. Like, it feels like you kind of drop off here if you don't go get Sam Leavitt. And I think that LSU needs to make that a priority and try to make that happen. Now, we know that Leavitt visited Kentucky, was scheduled to visit Texas Tech, but canceled that visit because Sorsby agreed there. And I wanted this morning to look at the options of Kentucky and LSU and just completely dismiss Kentucky. And I candidly had to check myself at that point. I got to go, okay, wait a second. Because my impulse, my reaction, my instinct is to go, well, this guy is a good player. He's been to the playoff. He's not going to go to Kentucky when he could go to LSU and play for Lane Kiffin in that offense. Like, that's not even a question. Well, wait a second. I got a Final Four that includes Indiana and Ole Miss. Okay? I got Vanderbilt winning 10 games and signing 5-star kids that were committed to Georgia at quarterback. Okay? This is a different world. It's not all NIL, but just because I think Kentucky has sucked my entire life, that doesn't mean they can't throw some money around and then say, hey, and by the way, like, there's tons of teams in our orbit traditionally that are at the top of the sport now. We're going to be there. We got a new coach. He's won a bunch of games, calling plays for Oregon. We're going to spend some money. We've got some players in the transfer portal and defense, and we're going to be good. And you could believe that. Like, I'm not telling you that is going to happen, but it's foolish for me in analyzing these situations to go, well, he's never going to pick Kentucky over LSU. We could. Like, it happens now. So I don't know what Sam Leavitt's timeline is. I don't know what he's looking for, and I don't know where he's headed after Baton Rouge, if he heads anywhere after Baton Rouge. But in reading the room and looking at the portal, assessing the options and understanding where LSU is at the quarterback spot, which is none, this is important. This guy can be a difference maker. And of all the things that LSU's having to address in the transfer portal, and it's a lot, nothing is as impactful as the quarterback spot. They've made 3 or 4 additions. It changes, by the half hour, but they've made some additions on the offensive side. They got a running back, they got a tight end, they got a wide receiver, and they'll continue to add that, and you're rebuilding everything offensively. You certainly got to hammer the offensive line. But quarterback is the number one spot. And truthfully, the first 2 guys on your board didn't work out. Chambliss, extenuating circumstances, can't wait for the waiver, makes an agreement with Ole Miss. All that makes a ton of sense. And then you look at Sorsby. He picks the huge money offer and the girlfriend, team that went into the playoff. I understand. You got to prioritize Leavitt. This is a guy that LSU's got to find a way. You may have to overspend. And that's the hard part from my chair. Because my opinion, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. But I'm here to offer it. That's why I sit in the chair for 2 hours. And it's hard to analyze how much you're spending on guys versus the market and whether it's a positive signing or a negative signing. All I can do is look at the player that you got. It's not like the MLB. It's not like the NBA. It's not like the NFL, where all the dollars and cents are visible and above board, and you can analyze who's in a good cap situation, who's in a good contract situation, who's got bad money on the books. All those things are very, very readily available. I don't have that when it comes to LSU or Kentucky or Texas Tech. I don't know. But I know in terms of on the field, playing quarterback, the skills you need, the production that you've had, all of these things, Leavitt checks these boxes. The only concern is the injury. I don't have any information on what that recovery is like. That's why we're talking to a doctor in 40 minutes. And we'll figure out kind of what that looks like. But he's a really good player who's played a lot of good football. And he's on your campus right now, if the reporting's correct, and it needs to be closed. This is the guy LSU needs to hitch its wagon to in 2026. There will be others. And if he moves on, there will be others. But I think this is the guy that gives you the highest upside. Again, he found a quarterback at Ferris State last year, so you never truly know. But I'll tell you this. If you're giving me the option of trying to find the next Trinidad Chambliss at Ferris State or trying to find a Power 4 starter that started in the playoff, I'll probably take that guy. Probably take the second one. Just generally speaking, going to be a more efficient and effective way to go rebuild your roster. So Sam Leavitt on campus at LSU. Got to make that happen here over the next day or so. We'll see when he decides to depart town, but hopefully he's got a signature here in Baton Rouge when he does. That's our opening drive here on this Monday. We've got lots and lots and lots to do. It's not just quarterback. You've also got some offensive additions. We'll get to those coming up in 20, 25 minutes or so. When we come back, Saints wrapped up their season. It's hard to talk about that 3 hours, but if you talk about the last 3 months, I think things are really trending positively for the Saints. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci, what a gym here in Baton Rouge. Love telling you about my friends over at Marucci. If you've got a young baseball player, young softball player under your roof, take them over to Marucci. Baseball season, softball season, both right around the corner. The weather's nice today, but not always the case this time of year. But the weather's always nice at the indoor batting cages at Marucci. So if you're ready to get tuned up for the season, you got that new bat for Christmas, want to go try it out, go hit in the cages over at Marucci. And while you're there, take a campus tour. Go check out a campus tour over at Marucci. They make 1,200 bats a day there. You can see how that is done over at Marucci. One of the coolest things here about Baton Rouge is that this backyard shop turned into the official bat of Major League Baseball. You can step right into the heart of all of it over at Marucci. Right here in Baton Rouge, it is Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chugging along here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, kind of getting back into the swing of things for most folks this time of year. Appreciate you making us part of your day. Saints finished things up on Sunday with a loss to the Atlanta Falcons. And I'll be honest, yesterday was kind of a microcosm of the entire 17-game slate for New Orleans to me. What do I mean when I say that? It's not a successful season by NFL standards because you didn't make the playoffs. You got last place in your division. Like, that's bad. Like, you just put it in front of you. It's bad. It's bad to be last place. That's bad, right? It's bad to lose the game to the Falcons, right? It's bad to lose. You're literally out there, as Coach Edwards say, you play to win the game. And they lost. So those are bad in a vacuum. But Sunday wasn't bad for the Saints, and this season was not bad for the Saints. In fact, both were good. Both were good. The Saints managed to do essentially just what they needed to do this year. They found their quarterback. That is massive, and it's done. He was marvelous the last month and change of the season. And he was good on Sunday. Yeah, the interception was not great, But that's a really good play by an instinctive veteran player that left his route and jumped one and made a play on it. It's going to happen sometimes. Unless you play for the Jets and you never get an interception the whole year. But it's going to happen sometimes. But you found your quarterback. He was great. You got your young drafted players onto the field. And you saw positive returns from Quincy Riley. Little bit from Devin Neal. You saw some positive returns from Jonas Sanker and Kelvin Banks. That's positive. Danny Stutzman gave you something late in the season. You saw your draft class get to the field and make some plays. Very, very positive. I thought Kellen Moore got better as the year went on. He did some things in September I did not like at all. He gave some answers I did not like at all. But by the end of the season, his play calling was better. Thought the Saints were more aggressive. And they played a lot better. And yeah, like they did. They beat some teams with losing records. Got it. The Jets aren't good. I understand that. I'm aware that Tennessee stinks. I know the Panthers are not a great team. But the Saints roster is not good. And Kellen Moore was coaching a not good roster against other not good rosters and winning. So you found your quarterback. Your young draftable players got to the field. Your coach did a better job. You won some games. And oh, by the way, your defense, which is aging, showed up and was one of the better units in the league down the stretch. You know the Saints finished 9th in the league in total defense? 9th. Brandon Staley's group, which got outclassed some early in the season, some of that was due to poor play. Some of that was due to playing better teams. Some of that was due to the offense not helping them at all, but not really moving the ball. But your defense was well coached. And so that's a positive. And while you were getting all those positives lined up, young players, quarterback, coach, defense, everything moving in the right direction, you still managed to get the 8th pick in the draft and stick to that 4th place schedule. And I talked about it on Friday. And I know that in the moment on Sunday, when the Falcons beat you and swept you, that doesn't feel great as a Saints fan. I get it. But just trade your feelings in, because that's all this is feelings. You weren't making the playoffs if you won yesterday anyway. It's just feelings about losing to the Falcons. Kick your feelings to the curb and realize that instead of playing likely Mahomes and the Chiefs, I understand the injury, likely Jaden Daniels and the Commanders and the 49ers, you're trading that in for a grab bag full of Cardinals and Giants and Jets and Browns and that whole crew. And it's 3 games worth. That's not insignificant. 3 games is not insignificant. And I realize that I don't know exactly what the Chiefs look like next year and exactly what the Cardinals look like next year. I don't know exactly what Washington looks like, exactly what the Giants look like. I don't know exactly what you're going to get next fall. I realize that. But aren't you playing the numbers here? Aren't you playing the percentages that the Raiders are going to be significantly worse than the Chiefs? That the Cardinals are worse than the 49ers? That the Giants are worse than the Commanders? Like, just playing the odds. And if you feel like, as a Saints fan, that you've got a real chance to make the playoffs next year, why wouldn't you right now? Look at your division. It's a joke. That trade is worth it. Sorry about the way you felt yesterday afternoon. Sorry about it. I know you don't like Atlanta. I know you don't like getting swept by those guys. I understand. Who gives a rip? It's over. They're not going to the playoffs either. Now, you've got the 4th place schedule. You've got the 8th pick in the draft. You've got all those good things that happened. It wasn't like Shuck went out there and threw 4 picks and looked completely bewildered. He made some plays to get you back in the game. And who did he make those plays with? As I tweeted out yesterday, basically the Washington Sentinels from the Replacements movie. Hand up. I'm not too proud. I'm not too proud. I'll just say it. They had 2 guys playing wide receiver on Sunday I never heard of. Never heard of in my life. I cover the team. Now, I don't go to practice. I don't see the practice squad, and I'm not there paying attention to every roster spot way down the line. But, like, they got guys out there running routes yesterday I have never freaking heard of. And that's who Tyler Shuck is dealing with. Tyler Shuck was out there the last month of that season. You traded Rashid Shaheed. He got comfortable with Vele. He missed. Then you go out there on Sunday. Chris Olave's not there. Your left tackle gets hurt. He's not playing. You hadn't had your center. Eric McCoy is the best player on the offense. He's not there. Running back, no Kamara, no Neal. You got nothing. He had no players. And he's still out there producing, winning to the corner, to the pylon against an NFL defender. Throws for 259 and a touchdown. He's out there targeting Ronnie Bell and Samoe Tureau. I don't even know who that is. I don't know who those people are. And you got Tyler Shuck out there with them. So get this guy some help. Plug it in to that schedule. And all of a sudden, you've got a drastically different conversation than we had 6 weeks ago. So yeah, Sunday felt bad. Wasn't fun. And yeah, you don't want to think about the 2025 season where you had 6 wins. Like, that's not fun to think about. But when you put it in context and realize what that season and what Sunday produced, the season produced the foundation of the rebuild, starting with the quarterback. And the loss cemented a 4th place schedule for next year when the games actually do matter, because the last month didn't matter, wins and losses. Like, this is a positive. The season was a positive. Sunday was a positive. And the vibes around this franchise, the vibes around this organization, the vibes around this fan base have got to be so much better than they were 6 weeks ago. I don't know that Audric Estime and Dante Pettis are going to be key cogs in the next great Saints team. Maybe they are, but maybe they're not. But some of the guys that were out there this weekend are. And it's an exciting thing to think you have your quarterback, to think you have your coach, to think your defensive coordinator's got things the way he wants them on that side of the ball, and to think that you've got another high draft pick and a manageable schedule, we think, coming. That's all very, very positive. And if you're a Saints fan right now, right here today, sitting here on a 6-11 team that is not even 24 hours done yet, and you think we're making the playoffs next year, you're not crazy. That's not a crazy thought. They got work to do. They got a lot of work to do because that roster is not very good. It's got to get healthy, and they've got to infuse it with some more. Got to get more help at wide receiver. You've got to make sure you know what you're doing at running back, and you got to shore up your offensive line. But those are things that can be done over time. And as we talked about extensively last week, having your franchise quarterback on a rookie deal allows you a lot of flexibility to move money around. So does drafting really well. It looks like this past draft was good, if not great. And hopefully you got one more of those in, and then you're back in the mix. That's what it takes. It takes a coach, a quarterback, 2 drafts. You can be back. That's it. And the Saints are now in position to make that happen. So I know, a bummer of a day on Sunday, but should be very, very excited if you're a New Orleans Saints fan. Luckily, I've got one of those behind the microphone over there on the other side of the monitors. I know you wanted Sunday's win, but I will award you now the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Raiders. There you go.
I mean, it's cool. I don't really have an issue with losing the game per se. I have more of a problem with the Panthers fans celebrating like they accomplished something this season. Like they was, we're going to the playoffs. We're not supposed to be here. Yeah, y'all not supposed to be here. That you're 100% right. So I get it. You know, they're happy. But it's like you would think the Panthers ran away with the division, how they were celebrating.
And so, as I suggest that you don't have to worry about your feelings with the Falcons thing, you realize, and this is what I'll gift you for here, that's the competition that you've got to deal with to win the division. Yeah. The Panthers. Have you seen them play?
Oh, trust me, I have.
Trash.
Hey, and so they get the first place schedule, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So they're going to get blessed next year. You know, we're going to see. And you get a top 10 pick. I feel like that's what's really
they'll get Philly.
In disguise.
They'll get the Rams. Oof. Or they'll get Philly, the Seahawks. And then in that division, Denver.
I know the NFC South next year we're playing the AFC North, so we play the Steelers and them and the Ravens, and I think we play the NFC. I saw the Saints play the Bears, so I think we play the NFC North and the AFC North next year. So I'm just more. Let's see what this draft pick looks like. Let's see what are you looking for? A receiver?
He needs to be about 6'4", run a 4.4, and catch everything in sight. That's what he needs to look like. Okay, that's what he needs to look like.
Thank God we have one of those in Arizona right now, Jordan Tyson.
Yes, that's him. So, that's what it needs to look like.
You got to come away with best player available at we'll see. I just think the Saints, you just got to nail this pick, and then now you're looking at, man, this could be special.
I mean, tell me the truth.
I'm here for you.
How locked in were you on who Ronnie Bell is 10 o'clock on Sunday morning?
I had no idea who Ronnie Bell was until he caught the one-handed touchdown. I was like, okay, I guess Ronnie Bell. I mean, look, Hunt, Kevin Austin, or Calvin, whatever, Kevin Austin. Dude, listen, man. You had every opportunity to make a change for your life yesterday, and yet you couldn't catch a cold.
No.
All right, you got Ronnie Bell. Is he from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know who Bell where he played ball at.
I just clicked his, Michigan.
Oh, he played at Michigan. Okay, so I know a little
Seventh
ball.
Rounder by the San Francisco 49ers
exactly,
3 years ago.
Yeah, so, you're out there with Ronnie Bell, Dante Pettis, and Kevin Austin, and Chuck almost pulled it off. He almost pulled it off.
He had the Washington Sentinels out there.
Literally. Hunt, there was one injury away from
flip over his car.
There was one injury away from giving me a call and be like, hey, man, how fast you can get out here to Atlanta right now? We need a receiver. So let's get Chuck some help.
Jeez, got to. I think it was a positive. Good year for the Saints. Positive season. We'll talk a lot about it moving forward. All right, we come back. We'll go back to the transfer portal. LSU has added 3 players on the offensive side. I'll tell you about them next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. You can find them online, lifetimeroofingla.com. It is the new year. We're into January, and they are so proud over at Lifetime Roofing to be able to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty on your new roof. Lifetime workmanship warranty. It's incredible. Something you just don't see in the roofing world. And we understand that things happen down here. If you're interested in having a lifetime workmanship warranty on your roof, Lifetime Roofing needs to be your first phone call. If you're interested in financing a roof, whether it's the entire roof that you need to get put on your house, maybe for a resale, or maybe you've got a deductible that's elevated and you want to finance that as well, they can do that over at Lifetime Roofing. 0% for 18 months. Find them online at Lifetime Roofing LA. They've been here in Baton Rouge for half a decade. Got a gorgeous new facility there just off of College Drive. They're part of this community. They care about this community. They want to help this community, and that's why they're proud to offer that lifetime workmanship warranty. It's Lifetime Roofing. You can find them online, lifetimeroofingla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, transfer portal is open. Transfer portal is happening. You can't keep up if you try. They're trying nationally, guys from the National Recruiting Services, keeping up best they can. But there are visits, there are entrants, there are signatures, commitments. It just goes very, very quickly. So I want to talk about the additions that LSU has made to this point. The first addition that LSU made was the addition of Hawaii wide receiver Jackson Harris. Jackson Harris is a guy that I wrote about Portal Profile on the website louisianasports.net earlier this morning. He's an interesting prospect. He was a prep star in Berkeley in California. A 3-star recruit, signed with Stanford, and he was there for 2 years, made 3 catches his first year, 3 catches his second year, and then transferred to Hawaii, where he really emerged as a big piece to the Warriors offense. As a redshirt sophomore, he did get a redshirt year his first year. He caught 49 passes for 963 yards for just under 20 yards per catch. He also scored 12 touchdowns, which led the Mountain West. He's 6'3", and he's got really good speed. He had 5 catches of 60-plus yards, and 4 times he had 70-plus yard touchdowns for Hawaii. The tools are certainly there. Pro Football Focus graded him as an 83.9 in the receiving game. He made 14 contested catches on 21 contested targets, had only 3 drops the entire season. So, like, LSU needs wide receivers. They don't have really any. They got Phillip Wright still on the roster and Nick Anderson still on the roster. That's it from the 2021-2025 team. You got Jabari Mack coming. You've got Corey Barber coming. You've got Braden Allen coming. But that's only 5 guys, and you don't have any real proven production in that group beyond Nick Anderson 2 years ago. So you got to get some dudes, and this is a guy that's got size. He's got speed. He's got playmaking ability. He's got to step up in class here from Hawaii in the Mountain West to the SEC. But I thought looked like a pretty toolsy addition from Lane Kiffin. Next addition was a running back from Utah, Racine Guillory. And this one is interesting as well because Guillory looks like a nothing signature. This is a guy who played a year at Utah. He had 1 rush for 4 yards. Like, he's 5'9", 190. What's the deal? Well, there's a little bit more to this story with Racine Guillory. He was considered one of the top backs in all of Texas in his class. And then he reclassified. When he reclassified and skipped a year, he was supposed to be in this senior class. He actually just finished his first year at Utah. He was committed to Texas. Longhorns were all over him. Lane Kiffin, Kevin Smith, and Ole Miss were all over him as well. But ultimately, he reclassified. Things changed. He went to Utah. He's got track speed. He's a Texas track guy. And he's a little bit undersized, but he's very shifty, very agile, very fast, and a guy that was thought of very, very highly in his class, but he's just very young. So now he's got a year of college seasoning in a college weight program, and now he comes on to a coaching staff that's familiar with him, and he is really talented. And they're not asking him to come in and be the bell cow back here. Harlan Berry is going to be a pretty good player for LSU next year. But this one, you've got to go a little bit deeper into the story to realize he was a former Texas commit, one of the top backs in the class, reclassified, ended up at Utah, was a young player there, didn't necessarily get to the field quickly. He redshirted this past year, so he's got eligibility, plenty of it left, 4 years. And it's a guy that the staff obviously liked when he was in high school. They like right now, so they bring in Racine Guillory at running back. He joins Harlan Berry. Those are the 2 running backs on LSU's roster right now. And the third addition was tight end from Pittsburgh. Malachi Thomas is the next ad. He's the third portal ad for LSU. 6'4", 230 pounds, Pittsburgh. He played in 13 games as a freshman on special teams, played last year for Pitt as kind of their second tight end. He was slated to be the starter in the following season, had 13 catches, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's not a guy that you immediately pencil in right to the front of the list. We know that LSU has got Trey'Dez Green in that spot, and they also bring J.D. LaFleur back. They signed J.C. Anderson, who Lane Kiffin and his staff targeted at Ole Miss and flipped him over to LSU at the end. So now you've got 4 tight ends. There are not a lot of places on the roster where your numbers look pretty good. There's almost none on the offensive side of the ball where your numbers look pretty good. Tight end, LSU's numbers look pretty good. Trey'Dez Green's a star. J.D. LaFleur is huge. J.C. Anderson comes in as a freshman, and then you add a third-year player in Malachi Thomas, who's got some size to him as well, has played in the ACC. So that's just a depth add right there for LSU. So those are your additions. Jackson Harris, wide receiver from Hawaii. Racine Guillory, running back from Utah, and Malachi Thomas, the tight end from Pittsburgh. It's going to be fast and furious from now on out. I was talking to Alondra in the hall before we went on. I was like, how many portal commitments do you think they'll get while I'm on the air? And I put the number at 2, just guessing. And we'll see. I don't believe there has been one to this point, but we'll keep things posted as we can. It develops very, very quickly. Sam Leavitt is on campus for LSU right now, and that's a quarterback that LSU desperately wants to get into the fold here, to push off the dock with their signal caller for next year. Questions involving Leavitt are generally around his injury. He sustained a Liz Frank injury, had surgery on that foot, and the prognosis is that he will not be ready to resume football activity in earnest until the late spring, after spring football is over. So you'd have some time for summer workouts, and every indication is that he should be ready for fall camp. but you obviously don't know until you know, and he had very serious surgery. So I decided, hey, pretty good idea maybe during our auctioner segment, which we have every other Monday, to chat about that situation. Now, you all know that we can't speak directly to specific injuries, but we can talk about general thoughts around those injuries with the medical team from Auction. We'll do that when we come back. Dr. Jeffrey Hogan, good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Monday to talk about Liz Frank injury, so we'll do that when we come back. Closing out hour number 1 on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I was scrolling through Facebook today, saw our guy Brian Haldane. Talk 107.3 Mornings with Brian Haldane, also helps with production for me on the LSU Sports Radio Network. And he called David Duvall just a couple months ago and said, hey, can you come out and renovate our bathroom? We just need a new look in there. Man, did he ever. Brian put some great pictures up on his Facebook page, and I talked to him this morning at our company meeting. He said he was thrilled with David in terms of his professionalism, in terms of his work, and in the entire process with One Bath and Closets. You can do an entire bathroom renovation. They do that at One Bath and Closets, from the floors to the plumbing, showers, tubs, the vanity, the lot. They do the whole works over at One Bath and Closets. They could also do something simple like a tub to shower conversion. Make the same decision my guy Brian Haldane made across the hall, and have David Duvall come into your home and make that happen for you. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
LSU basketball lost back on Saturday. We'll talk about it in hour number 2, plus any developing transfer portal happenings. Get to all that. We're closing out hour number 1 here. Always do that with our friends over at Auctioner. It's time for Sports Health, presented by Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Head out to Jim's Firearms Hotline. Talk to Dr. Jeffrey Hogan, sports medicine over at Auctioner. Dr. Hogan, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
It's our pleasure. Obviously, we understand we're not ever speaking in specifics here in terms of individual injuries, but as I was talking about in our previous segment, Sam Leavitt, a quarterback from Arizona State, is on campus at LSU today, and he did suffer Liz Frank injury playing earlier this fall, had surgery around Halloween, and so I just thought it'd be a good idea to maybe get some general information on what that entails as far as recovery. So first of all, what is Liz Frank injury? We know it's around the foot, but can you help us out with that?
Yeah, great question. So it's an injury to the midfoot, typically the base of like your second toe, where a couple of those midfoot bones come together, and usually you put a big load on that while you're up on toes. Football is a very common injury to see with that, and then the injury can range from anywhere from a sprain, a ligament kind of pull, or a stretch to that ligament, to a complete tear, bone fractures, to dislocations of those bones. So there can be a pretty wide variation in those injuries.
So we understand that there was a surgery involved here, and what you read from folks that are reporting on it from Arizona is that they're generally looking at 6 to 8 months here, and the thought is that he would not be able to return in spring football. Does that kind of sound like a reasonable timeline when something like that happens to a young male?
It sounds reasonable. I mean, honestly, typically when we're seeing these, I think I'm expecting more range of, even 8 to 10 months, maybe if not a little bit longer, as far as the recovery after surgery. With that, again, there can be pretty wide variability on how bad this injury was to begin with. So it can take a while. In general, though, like we see good return to sport once they get it fixed. If you could just give it enough time, we've had plenty of good examples, college, even into the pros, with these injuries, with guys getting back to sport.
So when you talk about the rehab and recovery, like what are the challenges that somebody may go through, and what activities may take the longest to return to?
It's a great question. I think generally the hardest part is getting back to that full mobility of your midfoot. You may not even realize how much your midfoot, you rely on that movement, the mobility with it. So any stiffness with that can really hamper your ability to, sprint, to cut, these agility movements. And so we see it more and more with basketball players, with football players who have to do a lot of cutting, getting back that full mobility. So you want to give it enough time to heal after the surgery. And then it's really working on those agility movements, that explosion, to work on getting that back. That's probably the toughest thing to regain.
Dr. Hogan, we really appreciate some time. Have a great week.
Thank you very much. Y'all take care.
He is Dr. Jeffrey Hogan with Ochsner at Ochsner Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. We know that one of the sports injuries can be unpredictable, but one situation you can protect yourself from is heat illness. Not necessarily something that comes up this time of year, but we know where we live, and it comes around pretty quickly in the spring months. Some key signs to look out for: excessive sweating, dry mouth, dizziness, fast heart rate, or a change in mental status. If you feel any of those symptoms, stop physical activity, immediately find a place to cool off and replenish fluids. To learn more about sports injury prevention and treatment, visit ochsner.org/BRortho. And that was interesting, and I wanted to get Dr. Hogan's thoughts on that. It's a serious injury. I don't know anything about these things, and that's why it's great to have the resources that we do with the folks over at Ochsner. But the thought is that this is an injury that sustained at the end of October. So let's just call November month one. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. You're into August at that 10-month threshold. Now, Sam Leavitt is young. He's in great shape. He's a great athlete. Maybe it's on the shorter end, as what Dr. Hogan's saying. Maybe you're closer to 8 months, so maybe closer to 4th of July. He's able to do a little bit more, but you understand that as far as like getting back to, he said you see a lot of good results in return to sports. It's just a matter of time, and you just don't have a lot of time when you're trying to learn a new system, learn all new wide receivers, learn all new offensive linemen. Just not a ton of practice time. You would love to have a full spring. You're not going to get that if Sam Leavitt comes to LSU. But to me, this is not coming from a doctor or a talent evaluator. I'm just telling you kind of how I feel about the situation. I would rather have the talented dude who's proven himself at this level, played in huge games, 2 years as a starter in the Power Four, coming off injury, than like go to Deuce Knight or go to DJ Lagway, they're healthy, but I've seen Leavitt do it, and his production far outweighs what those guys have done, right? So to me, I would much rather see Sam Leavitt come, even with the injury, than go further down the pecking order. That's why I started at the top of the show saying, like, this is the most important thing for LSU. You've got to get a quarterback, and you got to get one quickly, and you've swung and missed on two. You can't strike out. That'd be the third one. It's kind of like a strikeout if that happens. So hopefully LSU is able to close the deal with Sam Leavitt. And there's a little look at what you're looking at with a Liz Frank injury there in the foot. Serious, painful, time-consuming, but something that you do generally see a decent return to sport in, with what Dr. Hogan said there, which is great to hear. I want to remind you about Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville under new ownership. Started up on October the 1st. Highway 61 in St. Francisville, Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You know the Fabry family. They've been in business here 35 years. You're talking about 3 locations, 5 different brands, and now they're thrilled to have the Chevrolet GMC point there in St. Francisville. So make the short drive up and see them. Chevy Tahoe, they got them. Chevy Silverados, they got them. Chevy Suburbans, they got them. You can see the whole inventory there at FabryChevrolet.com. They've also got the GMCs, the Sierras, Yukons, Denali's, looking for an SUV. Great spot to go check out the folks at Fabry Chevrolet and GMC. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com. Again, they're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville, but check them out online, FabryChevrolet.com. All right, closing up hour number 1 here. I have covered a lot. We talked transfer portal, talked Sam Leavitt, talked LSU ads, talked Saints as well. We got a ton to do in our second hour when we get to, let's see what the order of operations is. We'll talk some more portal, and we're going to talk LSU hoops as they get a loss on Saturday in College Station. And, you know, the injury to De'Don Thomas is a huge storyline that we have to discuss at 2:15. Denton Day is going to be with us. I need Denton to talk me off the ledge here. I can't have Ole Miss in the national championship game. I'm not here for that. I don't need to see that. I don't need to watch that. I don't need any of that. I need them out. I need LSU's coaches to come back. So we'll talk to Denton about what he thinks about the 2 semifinal games coming up. Friday night, you'll have Miami and Ole Miss. And then Saturday, you'll have the Big Ten matchup between Indiana. Thursday, you have Ole Miss and Miami. Friday, you have Indiana and Oregon. So we'll talk about all that with Denton. So plenty to do in hour number 2. To close out over the next 90 seconds or so, LSU women's basketball gets beat for the second time. they lose on Sunday in Nashville against a good Vanderbilt team, but they're 0-2. And it's an easy argument to make, but I just don't know that scheduling your non-conference to win every game by 65 points is the best way to go about it. Kim's a lot more accomplished than I am. She's forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know. She's firmly solidified as one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport. And I'm not here to critique her coaching. I'm looking at this from 30,000 feet going, you're winning these games 114-40. And then you get into SEC play and you start 0-2. There are teams you can play that may prep you a little bit for that. So I'm sure they'll figure it out. Her teams have always gotten better as the season's gone on. And this one's got some firepower and they're going to get better. But it's easy. It's low-hanging fruit, I'm admitting, to look at that schedule and go, really? Like these lopsided scores, it just doesn't seem like a great recipe. But she knows what she's doing, and she'll see if she can get them figured out as Lady Tigers 0-2 at this point in Southeastern Conference play after entering league play with an unbeaten record. All right, so we got a lot to do in hour number 2. Fired up, you're here with us on this Monday. I want to open the second hour talking about what's going on in the transfer portal. Big picture, LSU has had another entrant into the portal from the defensive line, so we'll get into that. Seen some guys that have taken visits elsewhere from LSU that may land other places. One that landed at Texas A&M from the offensive line. So there's been a lot of movement when it comes to LSU in the portal. We'll talk about some of that. This is going to be a ridiculously wild week and things happen very, very quickly. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next 25 seconds we had something else break and we had to talk about that to open the hour. But we'll talk about that. LSU Hoops, Denton Day, plenty to get to in hour number 2. Appreciate you kind of starting your 2026 with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We have, if you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand. And we'll come back with a busy hour number 2 after national headlines of Sports Center.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Now, they've been at this for 116 years. They were founded in 1910, still doing it. You do something for 116 years, you're doing something right. And First American Bank and Trust certainly is doing a lot right. They've expanded to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. There's always one near you. Doesn't matter if you're here in Baton Rouge, over at Jones Creek, Dutchtown, maybe down St. James, St. John, Lafourche Parish, up on I-12, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa. First American Bank and Trust is here. And everyone that works in those branches, every decision that is made, it's all right here in the heart of our community in Southeast Louisiana. You don't have to call some line in Chicago or Seattle and hope you get somebody that might be able to look you up in the system. You get one of your community members right here at First American Bank and Trust. Stop in and see them at a branch today. Do your commercial banking with First American Bank and Trust.